here with American Horror Story doing Apocalypse episode 2, the morning after. This is our first impressions. I'm here with Stacy Smith. Hi, Stacy.
Hey, what's going on?
What do you think of tonight's episode, first of all?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm far more excited about the rest of this series than I was in the first episode. Just like we were saying last week, the first episode was just a slow going episode. This one definitely packed in a lot. Um, yeah. We'll cover all that though. I've got a lot of notes about this.
Oh yeah, definitely me too.
Yeah.
It definitely picked it up a lot more on this episode. It did tease us a little bit on the trailer with the witches, of course. So I was really excited to see them, and then we didn't get them. But here's hoping for next week. I think they're still going to tease us with them next week again. But yeah, they still threw a lot at us this week that was really amazing and really got it going. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next. I guess we'll go ahead and jump right in and start off with it opened up when we had the snakes, um,
Yeah.
where and it actually was with Emily and all. My first impression of that is I thought back to the Adam and Eve.
Yep, me
Um,
too.
yeah, I was. That's what I was gonna say. Did it do that for you too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the original sin again, especially with their whole fooling around and everything. And we did actually later in the episode get with them fooling around, so
Yeah.
that was really cool. I like the fact too that they decided to eat them, so that was kind of weird because you would think they would think twice about it just because of like because we had last week with the pigeons and they were thinking no, let's not do that, and then this week they were quick to go ahead and say, oh yeah, let's go ahead and eat them, even though they had got down in there. Which first of all, how did they get down into,
That's
you
the
know,
question.
yeah, into Outpost 3 to begin
Yeah.
with?
Yeah.
That was my big,
Yeah, there was
WTF,
there was there was no hesitation on that. They gave it so little thought. And just because, looking at them, they didn't look like they were mutated or anything like that. They must be suitable for food. But here's the thing is they didn't get very far with their dinner because those snakes came to life.
Oh yeah, and then they were popping out of their food and everything again too.
Yeah.
That was like crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, that would have sat there and made me think twice right there. I like
Hmm.
how Coco with her little uppity ass again was talking about, oh, I don't like to eat anything with no legs or too many legs, but we got Andre over there with, oh, but you have no problem with stuff with two
Two
legs, do
legs.
you? Back to the stew again. So we're not going to hear the end of that one, I don't think, all
No.
season.
No, as long as he's around, no, he's not going to let anyone forget that.
Oh yeah, definitely not. And there was a lot of intrigue too about the mystery guest that was, holed up in Miss Venable's office, and she obviously didn't like that because she wants to, take the run of the place, and she didn't like anyone in her office. Obviously, um, she didn't like being questioned about that. It seemed too much either, huh?
She didn't really like him being there at all. So the fact that she had to answer for him being there was just like a double whammy for her. It's like a 1-2 punch. First of all, she doesn't want him there. Second of all, she doesn't want everyone else to know he's there. So they might start thinking badly of her that someone has to oversee her. But it's kind of a good thing in this sense because of what they find out later.
Oh yeah, it was a big question of her authority, and yeah, she definitely didn't like that part.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she was very rude about that.
Hmm.
And then we actually get Michael. It was like just on cue too, where he just kind of entered himself into the room, and lets everybody know that he's going to be doing his little interviews that he called cooperating. Um,
That was funny. I actually kind of like that because it was so simple and so cheesy.
it was really funny. It really was. I thought so too. I laughed. Um,
Cooperation.
yeah, cooperation. Let's see who's going to cooperate and how far they're going to cooperate too. that'll be really funny to see the different tests that they go through with the different people too, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I can see just kind of where it's going to go with the different ones. We're going to see just how down and dirty everyone's going to get, you know? It's kind of like, let's let the games begin sort of stuff, you know?
Yeah,
I
that
believe,
whole survivor thing that we were talking about last week too. You know, that's
yeah.
totally coming into play right now. In fact, Evie, Joan Collins's character, exactly on point, exactly what I was saying last week about the whole survivor thing and about the older generation. Oh my gosh, I know I hit it on both of those. I know I
Oh,
did.
yes, yes. We had some more of that generation gap playing back and
It was
forth too, as
huge.
well.
It
Yeah.
was so apparent this week, even more so than last week, that that this older generation was just gonna rock it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And they even brought up I liked when they started later in the episode actually. But they started going back and forth with her and Diana against Coco and Mallory, and they were talking about I like where it even said about, oh, we had 4 Chris's for our movie stars that we can choose from. How many did you have again? And yeah, I liked it when they had their little back and
Pomeranians,
forth. Yeah, yeah.
Pomeranians, and
The 10 different breeds and the bottled water. Oh, you used to drink tap water.
deodorant, and like, you know, and you guys only had what, 3 channels, and I was just like, it just reminds me of when I was a kid though, because you know my generation is that sort of bridge between that older generation and this younger generation where we
Yeah.
had so little but then we started getting a lot, so we've seen all this change too.
Oh yeah,
But
that's me too. Yeah, I remember
yeah,
TV when we were younger, and yeah, we had them. It was only a few channels, and I remember we used to have to. If you broke the knob on the TV, you better grab a pair of pliers and change the channel, or you was stuck on that same channel.
yep,
And then they came out with them first cable boxes where it had the little slider on it, and you had to move it.
yep.
And then the next thing you know, we're online. So
And
yeah, it kind
everyone
of blew
had the
up.
same cable box, and everyone had the
Yeah,
same channels on cable because that's all they offered. And
I
oh
remember MTV
yeah.
when they first went online, or well, not online, when
On
MTV
air.
first went on air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think of us as the original MTV generation.
Yeah.
They don't know what MTV is anymore. They really don't.
No, no.
um, so yeah, let's get into oh, before we get into Michael and his cooperating, there's something I do want to mention about the cooperative that we were actually talking about earlier in the week. And that was about the cooperative in general. Something I had brought up to you, reflecting back onto the Coven season, was about how I believe that the cooperative is actually part of from the witch hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And you had mentioned before about Outpost 3 possibly being the witch hunters boys school,
Mm-hmm.
um, which would actually tie in great to the cooperative being um, associated with them because during the Coven season we had the cooperation or the
The
cooperation,
corporation.
the
Yeah.
corporation. Thank you. I was sitting there trying to mix the words there. The corporation, which was Delphi Trust, was where Hank's father worked.
Right.
And that's where they actually ran out of, and they were in Atlanta. So I kind of got this theory going that maybe that's where Outpost 3 is.
Mm-hmm.
And they did mention that the one in West Virginia and New York and I believe Texas was the other one is already
West Virginia,
closed.
Texas, and New York.
Yeah, that those were the 3 that have already closed down, shut down, overrun, whatever you want to call them now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so I'm thinking, and for fact, on with the cooperation back then, the one guy that Hank was kind of jealous of, he referred to him as his father's strong right arm.
Yeah.
So that, of course, made me think of Miss Venable on Apocalypse season.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts as far as them possibly being the cooperative being associated with them, especially when we had her comparing Michael to the uppity rich men later in the episode?
Mm-hmm. I did do a rewatch of Coven, and it brought back a lot more of my memory. So thank goodness I did that. Took 2 whole days, but I did it. But I think it's possible. But it just kind of, for me, it's going to depend on the dynamic of the cooperative, and then when they introduce the witches, if they're not one and the same, what sort of conflict are we going to see? Because it was my impression that the corporation, therefore the cooperative, would have been annihilated in that particular season, because the people in charge were gone. I mean, I'm not saying that there couldn't have been more people below them to rise up and take over. That could very well be the case, but there was just no indication of it. So at this point, I'm not sure, but I think that house was definitely like one of their training locations, or a school or something. And it looks like it could be in the right area too. Just based on what we're seeing with with snakes and kind of creepy crawly creatures and stuff that you don't see in a lot of other places. And that might be sort of some clues as the type of animals that we see come into the Outpost 3. That might give some clues.
It also made me wonder too, where you mentioned snakes, if it was something that maybe Michael was spawning almost, or if it was something, if it was something more of a magical nature that he was doing, as opposed to where they were actually really coming underground. Because if they were coming underground, wouldn't they have showed up sooner? I mean, you consider we're more than 18 months into the timeline now of them being there. They would have showed up further in now. Now, I know, because I live here in Florida, and you think, okay, let's consider that if they were in Atlanta, that, okay, just in a southern point of view, I know here in Florida that snakes like to hide in the wintertime. And like we normally say, okay, just don't go messing with like metal and stuff. You don't go wrestling with picking up old pieces of metal or under old sheds or anything like that when it's wintertime, because that's where the snakes will be hiding. So that would make me think, okay, they might go under there in the wintertime, but you're not going to have that long of a winter, Or when you think about the possibility of a nuclear winter, I would think they would have been underground a lot sooner,
Yeah.
So that just makes me think they kind of came because of him and what he's doing. Which, when you think, if back to a witch factor,
to come back to life too, they were they were supernatural. Those were not. So they probably could have been not natural to that surrounding. Based on that, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I wrote a note to myself, and I just wanted to throw this out there as one of my thoughts, was about the fog. Because if we think that this location is that school for the witch hunters, and it's probably in Atlanta, that would make me think that it's probably might have some swampy areas. I'm not sure, depending on how close, I don't know. I don't remember how close it is to Florida or Georgia or other, potential swampy areas. But that fog, it made me wonder if that fog was just, because of where they were, or if that was actual nuclear related. And I'm starting to wonder that maybe it's not, that maybe it's just natural to that particular surrounding, that fog is just a part of that surrounding. I don't know, but it crossed my mind, at least.
I've got an idea on that. I've got one idea on
you're
that.
From that area, so
yeah. Well, okay. Number one, one thing to look for as far as a sign for maybe it's possibly in Atlanta would be Georgia red clay. The dirt is a telltale sign, big time. Another thing with the general Atlanta area is it's very hilly. Now, if you go a little further south, then it's going to be more flat, more swampy. We do see them when he in the Coven season when his father takes Hank
Camping.
hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the Okefenokee Swamp.
Hmm.
That would be a very good place to find
Yeah.
that, and that would be a really good place for the school when you think about it.
Yeah.
And it the fog also another thing I thought about would be a good way to cloak them. So
Yeah.
I could see that being a good like cloaking spell. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and another thought about that is if it's all kind of if it's there was no real nuclear if there was no real apocalypse happening and it's all just kind of to mess with these people,
Yeah.
and it didn't really happen and it's all just you
It
know
crossed my mind. It seriously, it crossed my mind because just because LA gets bombed doesn't mean that Atlanta or that other places are going to be impacted the same. I mean, don't get me wrong, the fallout's going to go for miles and miles. But if nowhere around the Atlanta area, let's just assume that that's where they are. If nowhere nearby was bombed because they think, oh well, it's not worth our time to bomb the South. Let's put it like that, okay? It's not
right.
worth our time to bomb the South because there's nothing there. Their mentality, right? Then then maybe that area is not impacted at all, and maybe they're just messing with their heads.
Yeah, that and I have thought just the exact same thing. Also too, I mean, just because those particular people seen it on the news or whatever, and like, okay, like where you had the security show up to pick up Timothy, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what really happened. You know what I mean? Just because they seen it on the news and the security showed up. First of all, the security that showed up again reminded me of the security from the
Coven.
Coven season. Yeah.
Yeah, the two
Um,
guys that were shuttling them around.
right. It was
Yeah.
very reminiscent.
Yeah.
The only difference between them and the actual witches is the witches had the albinos.
Hmm.
So that's why I think they were more for the actual cooperative or the
Hmm.
cooperation.
Hmm.
Yeah. And another reason that I do think that, yeah, it was them and not so much the actual witches is because of where later in the episode we do have Miss Venable speak to Michael where they have their little back and forth. And
Yeah.
she says, oh, yeah, you're just another one of them uppity rich boy type guys.
Yeah.
Um, and, she compares them and puts him in that exact category
Yeah.
with those other guys.
Yeah.
And that just fits the MO.
And her disdain towards the purples, she's projecting that on him too.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And she says flat out, it's men like you that destroyed the world, that did this, that brought this on to begin with.
Hmm.
And when you think about it, those men that were in power and that had the money and power to do this, of course
Hmm.
they'd be able to buy their tickets and way into there. So who
Hmm.
better? It just kind of
Yeah.
fits really nicely.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of liking the way that goes. Um, let's go on and move into more of whenever Michael starts doing his cooperating. We have a volunteer that comes up first, and that's our dear Mr. Gallant.
Yeah.
What did you think of his little interview?
Wow. Um, First of all, he really seemed ready to vent about his grandmother. He did. I it seemed like Michael had to drag it out of him a little bit, but once he started, I mean, it was just like it just rolled off about how he hated her so easily, and about how she envisioned how his life should be, and he was just rebelling, and you know I don't think that there is as much that hatred. as just he just wanted mere acceptance from her, right? And being from an older generation, you know, what they provided with us was, it looked like she attempted to accept him and his, his lifestyle, his life choices or whatever. But he was still kind of rebelling against that too, because it how she saw it wasn't exactly how he saw it. So, I think that that's just a miscommunication. And I don't know that he ended up stabbing her with the scissors or anything like that. But if he did, I'm sure he feels guilty about that now, because it really wasn't in a lot of ways, it wasn't that big of a deal. And I think maybe Michael was trying to show him that, you should probably um, be a little more accepting of her as well. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but
It's
I
a
just,
generation gap again.
yeah, it is. And, look, I don't know anybody who didn't rebel against their parents, or just an older generation, or just, anything that's, established, period. I mean, that's
Right.
how we get change in our world, is because of that. But um I think that this was kind of a small thing in the scheme of things, and maybe Michael was kind of showing him that. But it was funny. Evie, again came back and said, "Hey, look, it's all about survival here. I'm gonna do what I have to do to survive, and if that means ratting on you, then."
Right? She went and snitched on him really quick, and she
So
was like, "Sorry, I threw you under the bus, but I'm just here to make it. That's all
yeah,
it came down to.
yeah.
Don't care
So
if you're my blood or not.
it's an
I'm just
interesting
here to
dynamic
survive."
between them. I think that in all that there's a love there. There's a familial love, but again, that generations, how they see things is just different, and that takes acceptance on both
It
sides.
I agree. It seems like this episode seems to have kind of a sex and judgment theme almost.
Hmm.
There seems to be a lot of both going on.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, I agree. It's like he just wanted her love and her to accept him. That's all he ever really wanted. And she
yeah,
just never really could approve of his particular way that he wanted to live. She
yeah,
approved of him being gay. That wasn't the problem, but she didn't like the way he chose to be gay.
yeah.
She seen a gay lifestyle rather as I guess maybe this khaki little schnauzer having sort of
Hmm.
lifestyle, and he's seen it as more of a S&M party sort of lifestyle. I don't know. He was just a little more hardcore in general, and she was a little more tea party. I
But
don't
it
know.
but it's a different thing, because if we were talking about a parent child versus a grandparent and a child, I mean, that's an even bigger gap to deal with.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
so it's we're talking about something that's twice removed now, and someone who's quite a bit older. So it's even more pronounced, I think.
Oh yeah, no, and that's like she was talking about Natalie Woods, where she was talking about, oh yes, Natalie, and I'm going to outlive everybody or survive. Or no, Natalie said that, oh dear Evie, you're going to survive.
You're a
Uh,
survivor. Yeah,
you're a survivor, yeah.
yeah,
And she had proved that she really was, and she had outlived them all.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so we see that now. The question is her grandson going to be the same? I think that will prove in his blood, maybe that we will
Yeah.
see him progress further on in the season. But yeah, it's just in different ways. I mean, that's how you see the difference in time, I guess you can say.
Hmm.
The difference between one generation to the next is what they see as appropriate, I guess, because to I guess us nowadays, his lifestyle is kind of ordinary and plain. There's nothing really outrageous about his life. At least I don't think so by today's standards,
And
but by
his mention of Folsom, which was like,
yeah, I love that. I wrote that down actually about the Folsom State Fair.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that was great. That was one of my favorite lines.
yeah. That's
um, uh,
interesting. That's interesting.
yeah, it was. And he was talking about, yeah, about where he started yelling out the 70s gay men whenever they were lashing him. He's like, and they're like, oh, just stop it. He likes it too much. He
That
is
was pretty
definitely,
funny.
it is. He's definitely like
That
one of
was
my
pretty
favorite
funny.
characters this season by far. Probably one of my favorite roles he's played too, like in the
Yeah.
series, I think.
I like him
Most
better than
fun.
Coco. Coco,
Oh yeah, me too. Me
I'm
too.
so not. Maybe it's just her, Leslie Grossman, or I don't know, but I didn't like her last season, and I'm not liking her this season. Even if she's in there for comedy relief, I'm just not feeling her.
You just want to throw stuff at her
It
every
just
now and then.
no, I mean it just feels like it's over. It's excessive. It's excessive how she is, and I don't know. Maybe there are people like that, but I'm just I don't know anybody like that. That's so
I do. I just
yeah,
want to throw stuff
so
at him.
over the top, and I don't know. I'm just not used to that, and it just I don't know. Maybe again, this is the whole generation thing too. I guess is I just don't identify anything in her. I don't see anything of myself in her. I don't care about her. I hope she's the next person to die,
Yeah,
and
that's
maybe
me.
she
I'm
will
just
be.
waiting for her to die.
It sounded to me like she could very well be because they were talking about the three people, Venable and Michael, when they had their conversation about the three people. I couldn't catch the whole dialogue between them in time, but it felt to me like she was one of the people that's probably going to be going sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, I think Mallory, her assistant, has a better chance than she does. As far as survival, definitely. For a fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Mallory's the one to take her out. I'd kind of like to see that,
Ooh,
honestly.
ooh,
Right?
that's
Um,
juicy.
right?
That
Um,
is juicy.
Something that Michael said when he was interviewing Gallant that I wrote down that I really liked was there's no use for rules anymore, that chaos is won. And I thought that was a really good point to just think about, because Miss Venable really has a thing for rules. She's created her own rules, even, which we kind of hear some about, where Michael tells her, he confronts her about this even, and we see where Emily and Timothy even go snooping in his room and see on his laptop that she has made up her own rule of the no sex rule, that
Yeah.
she has made that up herself and it's not even true. And she's taken kind of the punishment role into her own hands.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting to think about that. And especially when you think about what happened with Stu again, and that she's kind of dishing out the whole, she's dishing it all out, actually. She's dishing out the judge, jury, executioner, all of it,
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of question how Michael's going to handle her. He does kind of shame her later on, and tell her that she failed, but I don't think that's kind of going to be the case myself. I think he's going to kind of come to like her way of doing things, not so much in the order that she's doing them, but just the fact that she is that, mm, dare I say, evil?
Well,
I don't know.
even after he approached her about that, she was still shelling out some punishment. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't so it didn't intimidate her in the least. It didn't deter her. She's not going to change. And it just depends on whether or not he decides that she should be allowed to be the judge, jury, and executioner or not. Because technically, that's supposed to be his role in all of this. That's why he's there in the first place.
Exactly. And she really has no idea who he is. She just thinks he's some uppity ass that's there to judge her and basically decide who is going to take over and go to the sanctuary and put her out of a job, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And she don't like that. She likes being in control. You can tell she's one of them control freak type people
Mm-hmm.
that just likes to run the show. She's been doing it for a long time. She likes the power. She likes it. She wants to be an elite. We already know that. She's kind of mad that she's not. She's used to being that right arm, which makes me even wonder if she really is a right arm or if that's a role she gave herself,
Mm-hmm.
and even if these directives that she was talking about were ever even sent, or if
Mm-hmm.
that's something she made up as well, or maybe if someone else sent that to her.
Well, she does care for sure about whether or not she moves on to this sanctuary, because she even asked him, "Did I fail?" Okay. If you don't care, you don't ask that question. She obviously cares.
Well, that's self-preservation though, but that's for her
Yeah.
sake, not the others.
Yeah, that's got nothing to do with anyone else. But again, if you don't care, why bother asking?
Right.
So she does care.
And something I want to bring up really quick because this won't come until later, but we definitely know that she has human flaws. When we see he makes her unzip and show her back, and we see that she has it looks like scoliosis.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, I'm not a doctor, but it looks like scoliosis. So
Yeah.
she does have a very human characteristic, a very human flaw there, and she's shamed by it. And she says it doesn't hurt, but it does pain her.
It's why she has to use a cane.
Right, right. So,
But
I mean, that explains that part about the cane, which I thought was kind of interesting, actually. And it made me also wonder if that's kind of why she's so mean, honestly.
compensation for her weakness, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Especially towards the elites, people of vanity and privilege and wealth and stuff like that that can do things, genetic DNA, stuff like that, that are considered superior DNA for whatever reason, who we don't even know yet.
So
We
that's
got
interesting.
ideas.
That's interesting. So I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but just now thought of it. So she's basically kind of in the middle between these people with the perfect so-called, the extraordinary or whatever DNA, and she doesn't have that because she's severely flawed with her back, right? So her DNA just excludes her there, but she's not rich either. She's not a purple in
Right,
that she has all that money. She is none of the above. She so the question last week was, well, what is she then? I mean, she says she's the the right hand, the strong arm and everything.
right,
But what is she really? And I don't know that just because she's in charge of that outpost that's always going to be the case, that she's going to get to move on, because she's really got nothing to offer in either of those dimensions, right? So if
right,
that's what they're looking for, then we can just say, Venable, you're gone.
right, exactly. Because yeah, exactly. She has nothing to offer at this point. Um, as far as anything that he's looking for, he's there to evaluate everybody. And what does she have? She has nothing. Um, and speaking of which, we get to the DNA. Let's go ahead and address
Yeah.
the elephant in the room. We were talking about this a little while ago. Emily and Timothy, the ET. So their DNA. We were talking about this earlier about the possibility of their bloodlines and their DNA. Now, there's a couple possibilities of who and where they could come from. Possibly from the asylum, um, that bloodline from there. Oh man, now I can't think of the guy's name, but it was Evan Peters' character. He had got two women pregnant, right? The two girls pregnant. So that would be the alien DNA that they could come from. And then I thought about that there was a little girl named Emily in Roanoke that disappeared. That was the woman that played Diana in this one. Her daughter's name. She had the two daughters. And one of them was Emily that disappeared. We have no idea what happened to her, if she lived, died, whatever. We just know that she disappeared when she was 4 years old and is MIA. So that made me think of this girl. Now, the timeline doesn't seem to quite fit.
It depends on how far in the future this apocalypse happens, because I was looking at the first episode for years, and I didn't check to see if there was anything written, but there was nothing in the episode that told us what year this was happening.
Actually, no, I did figure that out. It's happening right now. We should be in 18 months later, should be, I believe, in 2021. We should be, it's like it jumped ahead where it was like the missiles went off in, and I have it written down on my other piece of paper, but it's like the missiles went off in April, then we jumped to October, and then we jumped to April in 2021. So, but it started in April of 2019. And then it went to October 2019, and then it went to, so the apocalypse happened in October 2019. So that's when it started, that they're at Outpost 3. That's when they arrived there.
So Roanoke, in Roanoke, she would have been, a grade school age child. So
that would have actually kind of fit. And when you think about it, Roanoke was a TV show remake.
She would still be like a young teenager, because it would only be I don't know. That could be. It could be. She could be an older teenager. I could see that.
Yeah. I know. That's got me thinking now. I kind of want to play with them timelines now.
Am I going to have to go back and rewatch that now, too?
I know. I think I'm going to have to now, too, because I know that they did it. I'm sorry about the shaking. I need to do something about my laptop here. I know that in Roanoke, they did it like it was a TV remake, but it was like based on a true story sort of thing. And it was based on the events that happened. So yeah, that's a little confusing now. So I wonder when it would have actually happened for. So yeah, it really could have been.
We'll keep investigating.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check on that one.
We're gonna get down to it. We're gonna get down to the bottom of this. Who
are they?
We're gonna figure it out before they go and open up the curtains on us and tell us. We're gonna figure it out.
I wouldn't know. And another surprise we had is we were thinking that Rubber Man guy was going to end up being Tate, and it shocked us because that was not Tate. Then it really didn't appear to be Michael either. So the question is, who was Rubber Man?
It was not
or Weatherman.
Okay, that was a mind trick. That was like a Jedi mind trick thing,
right?
It was not Evie. There's no way.
No. Yeah, that was crazy. Just that whole situation. And then whenever they went and we had Emily and Timothy again, where they snuck into Michael's room and were checking out his laptop, and they found out about Venable lying about the no sex rule. And he was all creeping like a spider up on the ceiling.
Yeah,
you just want to look above me all the time now. And yeah, it would have been really hard for him to be in there banging Gallant too if it was Evan Peters in both suits. That would have been kind of crazy. Yeah, see how they pull that one off. I could see Ryan Murphy doing that one though. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to think of who it might be. I mean, I've kind of got an idea just because I thought this when I watched Murder House that when Tate was actually in costume, that he was kind of more or less the devil. So I'm kind of thinking now maybe that's who it is in the suit this time too. I don't know, especially considering Michael's like, no, I was never in your room. Either that or maybe Michael's just screwing with Gallant. I don't know. So I don't
I
know.
think that's more likely, okay? Because here, well, that's okay. Depends on what kind of tricks he knows. All right. If he can project himself standing there, like walking, walking in at the end of it all or whatever, or seeing it, and then, and then all of a sudden that rubber man turns into Evie. I mean, that's like, what kind of tricks does he know? That was kind of, I wanted to think it was Michael just kind of messing with his head, and it still could be. Okay. I'm not ruling that out. It just depends on what kind of tricks he knows.
Well, I do think he definitely is a witch or warlock, whatever you want to consider him, being he's a man.
And he was the right
Um,
height too. Just saying.
oh yeah, yeah, no. If nothing else,
I
I
was
think it
looking
was
at that.
him. Yeah, if nothing else, it was him wearing it just because, just because. But he definitely is a witch, and I will say this for this reason, if nothing else, he is Constance's grandson, and she is definitely a witch.
Mhm.
Um, no doubt about it. I will argue it to the end. If you need proof, well, I'll tell you this. She burned the sage. She spit in how much stuff? The cakes that she was making, all the baked goods and stuff she was doing like that.
Mhm.
And that is like a cursing sort of thing, by the way. And just other little things that she did. That woman was a witch. Um, I don't think she was a good kind either. And by the way, just being a witch in general, just to clear the air out there, is all about intention. Whether you're good or bad, it's all about intention. Is there is no just dark witches, or they're not just generally evil. It's all about intention. Um, so just because we got the witches doesn't mean that they're going to be on the bad side, because again, I and another point to bring up is I think that there, I was talking to you about this before, I think the witches are going to come in to kind of go against Michael,
Mhm.
um um which we'll get into all that stuff later, but I do think that he is definitely got some witch blood, and we've seen where he dropped the cuffs off of Gallant.
Yeah.
um and again, the point with the snakes,
Yeah.
um and those can tie into
To the voodoo.
witchcraft too. Yeah, I thought about the voodoo mainly,
Yeah.
but they can tie into witchcraft. Um, and yeah, it's just it's little stuff, and
I
we
really
just,
thought when they started playing Fleetwood Mac that we were gonna.
I know you
Okay,
call
so
that.
seriously, so okay, so here's the thing, right? So again, just having watched Coven again very recently, is that the song that she was playing on the piano when she was at the Coven house?
Which time?
Not Rhiannon, not Rhiannon, the
No,
other song.
no, that wasn't. And whenever she was sitting there with Fiona and she was talking about, oh, I always loved it when you play that song. I just watched it too. Um, no,
I because there were it just kind of gave me that same sort of feeling, even if it wasn't the same part of the song, it just felt like it might have been the same song. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't even know which song that is, to be honest with
This
you.
one was Gold Dust Woman. Oh, I love me
Okay.
some Stevie Nicks.
Okay.
um, and I know what song it was, and I can't think of the name of it right now because I'm trying to. Um,
But at the very least, it's foreshadowing. I'll give it that.
yes.
At the very
I
least,
don't,
it's foreshadowing. But I really thought that we were going to start seeing some witch action based on that.
oh, I want to bring up this song just for a minute because I pulled up the lyrics because of the lyrics, what they say specifically in the song, which earlier we heard Time in a Bottle, and then it went into Gold Dust Woman whenever Gallant and the Rubber Man or Leather Man, I don't even know what to call him now. Was he wearing more leather this time, I guess?
I think it was rubber.
Yeah, I was like, I was trying to figure out, is this like, did he switch to leather for Gallant? I'm not sure. Um, Whenever and it's kind of like he led him straight to do the dirty work, but it's talking about dig in your grave. It's talking about lovers picking their prey, shatter your illusions of love. I'm just skipping through because I want to mention specific parts. Rulers make bad lovers. You better put your kingdom up for sale. Um, is well, did she make you cry, make you break down, shatter your illusions of love? So this pale shadow of a woman, black widow, pale shadow of a dragon. And that I wanted to mention because I was mentioning before to you about the seven heads of a dragon, which was mentioned in Murder House by our little purple floppy hat wearing cokehead that Tate assaulted, I guess you could say, and scared the hell out of.
Yeah.
And she was telling Violet about it. I believe she said it was in Revelations. I might be wrong, but she was telling Violet about it and said that the seven-headed dragon would consume the child. And I might be saying it a little differently, but that's to sum it all up. It was something about the seven-headed dragon consuming the child. And the child it was speaking of was basically the child of the apocalypse. And if you look at this, who's coming in this season, we have 7 witches that are coming in, including Stevie Nicks. So the mention of she's a dragon, gold dust woman, made me think about, here we got the witches are coming, and they're coming, and it just was a nice little tie-in, a nice lead. It also made me wonder too about with the talking about the lovers making lousy lovers and the rulers and everything like that. Lousy lovers pick their prey and making bad rulers and everything. The rulers part being Emily and Timothy. And I kind of think she's going to portray a sort of evil again and lead him astray. She was already talking about, hey, why don't we go and gather some supplies and go find the sanctuary on our own? Hey, why don't we go and look in his room and see what we can find to kind of turn him out? So she seems to be kind of playing the role. And if we think about it, that's where the snakes first turned up. And that's kind of reminiscent of the Garden of Eden right there.
Yeah.
So, is that going back to the whole original sin part,
Yeah. Well, and the snakes, could be representative of the serpent.
Right. It did it. It made me go back to thinking about the whole Garden of Eden story right there.
Foreshadowing there that, because it just happened to be where they were, nowhere else.
Exactly. And then we had where they had their first sex scene finally. So, right. And she kind of did lead him astray and tempted him, and they did finally have sex after all this time. Right? I know. I was like, you whore. Oh, man.
Evil like, woman.
Right? It's always the woman. It's always
the women.
Oh, but I really loved it. But it did. I was like, does that mean the witches are coming in now? And of course they didn't do it. It's just killing me.
I totally thought so too. And then that's not what we saw. We saw the Rubber Man instead.
I know. It's like, I guess they couldn't throw too much at us at one time. They don't want to scare us to death is what it is.
I think they wanted to throw us off. But I think it's important what you said about the words of the song too, because I think that, for us to just hear it like that, we wouldn't really pay attention to the words and what's about to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as I heard what song it was, I was like,
yeah.
"Ooh!" And I knew it, and I knew it. Then
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I had to pull the lyrics up just so I could go back and make sure I read them right. It's like,
I
no,
didn't
I've
have
got to bring this
time.
up. Oh no, no, no! I did. I was like, I made. That's why I grabbed my phone and I was like, nope. Let me make sure I have it.
I was gonna ask you, which song is that? I can't remember
It's
which
Goldust
song it
Woman. Oh
is.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, no, I love me some Stevie Nicks. I was so excited when she showed up, and she's going to be back. She's one of the witches this season that'll be back. For fact, let's see, we have her, we have Madison Montgomery, so we get the Montgomery connection again. Queenie, so we got our live voodoo doll. Misty Day, who I love. Misty is like probably my absolute favorite, and then Myrtle Snow is like another one of my favorites. Cordelia Good, who's going by her maiden name now, so I like that. And then Zoe. So that's our 7 right there.
Yeah.
And
they had to have brought a few of them back too. So maybe they'll get into that. Maybe they won't. But if not, some of them did die by the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because the coven was down to like 4 people at the end of it. So
well, yeah, Misty got dusted. She went to dust.
She didn't make it back. So
yeah, and they did burn Myrtle twice. They did end up burning her.
I saw that. I wasn't sure. I was like, I know she got burnt the one time. Where would she have burned twice? And then, duh, at the end.
Yep, I know. That's why I was like, I knew it. I was like, I thought that happened, and it wasn't her mother.
If you say that, I'm just gonna trust you on it going forward. I'm not even gonna resist. I'm just gonna be like, you're right. You're totally right. because everything that I remember is completely obscure. You just.
I watch too much TV is what it is. I just watch too much TV. Yeah, it was kind of crazy how it just all seems to tie in together, and we're kind of coming back to these past seasons. Even where like we were mentioning Roanoke coming back in and Asylum coming back in. And they were only mentioning, Murder House and Coven coming back. So it's kind of fun that they're all kind of playing in now. So, I'm even looking for maybe a little of the other seasons in there that we're not thinking about, who knows? It kind of just makes me wonder what else is in there that we're not even thinking about yet, that's not even a possibility on the table so far,
Don't make me rewatch the entire series.
I know. I'm jumping around all over the place right now. Like I went from one season to the other to back here, and it's just all over. Oh yeah, no, I'm on
it. You kind of have to though. You kind of have to be fresh on all of the seasons because I think they all do tie into each other, and I think we're going to see those little ties in this particular season. I think it's a culmination of all of it in some way, shape, or form. So, it wouldn't, to me, it wouldn't hurt to go and rewatch the rest of the seasons just because, there's little things to catch on to, I think. So
I keep trying to remember what Elizabeth Taylor's son's name is now, and I can't remember. And I just watched it. But I only watched like the last couple episodes just to remember, because I wanted to remember the last episode because I know it ends on Devil's Night in 2022. Mm-hmm. And we had Billy Dean on it, and we had Queenie at the end of it. So we do know that they'll at least be, I guess, survivors of this, maybe, or at least Billy Dean will, because we don't know when Hotel actually took place, probably before, except for the last episode, so
it was in the 2000s. I know that much. I know it was sometime in the 2000s. Most of these are set in the 2000s, except for the part of Roanoke where they go into the original, colonization.
Right.
where they
Asylum
start
was in the
where they start
60s.
Asylum. You know, the original the Montgomerys in Murder House, way back when. I mean, there's parts that jump way far back, and even in Coven, they're talking about, you know, the 1800s and all the way as far back as about the 1600s when their Coven, I think, was started, right?
In the 1500s,
Okay.
in Salem, yeah. And the witch hunters even mentioned that they were pre-Salem,
Yeah.
before they even came to North America. That's how old their order is.
Hmm.
So that makes me think that there's possibly other outposts overseas too.
Yeah.
Um, if there even is. Again, I question whether or not there even was anything that happened or if it's all just BS. I'm not quite sure on that one still. Um, Something else I want to bring up too is we see the punishment doled out for Timothy and Emily for their little sexcapades that they had. And we see Timothy, yeah, we seen
Oh
Timothy
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of take
yeah.
it into his own hands and shoot Miriam. And oh, yeah, it's right.
Okay, total. Is she Terminator? Oh my goodness!
I
Is she
thought
like
Dolores.
cyborg? Is she a cyborg, or was that like okay? So, because my husband was watching it with me, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, it's like Terminator," and I just started laughing, and I turned around and looked, and I was like, "Was that wasn't like a breast implant, was it?" Like, I don't know why that even came to mind. Breast
I was
implant.
having a Westworld moment totally. I was like, it was fucking Dolores. Oh, I said, it was Dolores. It was Dolores. Oh my God.
but
I was
but
having
yeah,
this
so
totally.
I wrote that she wasn't human, she was like Terminator, and I literally just watched Terminator 2, like, I don't know, like a couple days ago or whenever it was on. I think it was like a day or two ago. I was watching that crap, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's not even human. So, but it's funny, I did get the Terminator reference because she did say killing was in her DNA, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like she's the
Oh, yeah.
Terminator.
Yes, she seriously did too. And what gets me is she's eating. She's sitting there eating food. Why is she eating food if she's not even alive? Like,
She
really,
doesn't
actually
have
alive?
to. Yeah, she doesn't even
Exactly.
have to. Yeah.
So she's wasting all this food that actual people could be eating.
But
So
remember after Madison came back to life in Coven, she was eating just to try to feel something and to try to, get a sense of, being human and living again. And she had like that whole table full of food where she ate like half of everything, and they didn't really
she
have
had the
much food.
emptiness. Yeah, she said
Yeah.
I had that empty hole that she couldn't fill. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
which was interesting because gosh, who was it that they were saying? Oh, Michael was saying that to Gallant, the Evan Peters character. He was saying about the hole that he had.
yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, he said the same thing.
I wonder if that's something like
Mm.
maybe after they come back or something that maybe he has died as well, maybe. That's a very interesting fact right there. Makes you wonder. But that also made me
No.
wonder who else is like Miriam. My guess would be at least that really tall chick is because she just kind of gives off that vibe like Miriam does. She
Mm.
just gives me that vibe. But I would probably say at least the other, I don't even know what to call them because they're not really worker ants like the grays are, but they're the ones in black that are not Miss Venable,
Well,
so to say.
let me just throw this out there too. Um, Spalding from Coven, some notes that I took on him was he was explaining that he came from a family which was a clan of watchers that went
Yeah,
back 300 years. So that to me is like, kind of like the Greys, right? The servants, the people who are, they're buzzing around the house doing their thing, but they're removed from everything. So they're kind of like watching the situation, and I think that's kind of like the role that Mallory plays for Coco, kind of like how Spalding was to Fiona.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's actually
So
some.
maybe I don't know, maybe she
Mm,
descends from that sort of line. Maybe that's what those people are, is the Watchers.
go watch a video on the Watchers. Like, just look up on YouTube the Watchers too.
You're gonna
That'll
make me
kind of
get into
mess with your
something
mind.
else. You're gonna make me get
Yeah,
into
I
something
am.
else.
I
She's
am.
making
That's a
it.
whole thing right there too.
So
That's
I
like
have
a
to.
whole thing.
I'll put a note. Hold on. The
Yeah,
Watchers.
just look up the Watchers. That's gonna mess with your mind on a whole nother way.
Oh, stop.
Oh yeah. And we'll bring that one up later. But that's a really good point. And you know what, I thought about Spalding too, actually, with the worker ants.
Yeah.
It's like I almost kind of wish that he would have been wearing more gray. Um, and yeah, he did say, he's like, my family's been doing this for like 10 generations or whatever.
Yeah.
And
10
he was
generations.
really proud of it. And it almost made me wonder, where's the rest of his family and what happened to the rest of them? Because you seen when the school was bigger and there was more people there was a lot more of them. What happened to the rest of them?
They didn't have the need because the coven, remember from the
The
pictures, was
coven
grown
got
so
smaller.
small over the
So
years.
right. So what
Yeah.
happened to the rest of them? And we know that there was other covens spread out around,
Yeah.
because we heard about the one in, I believe it was Northampton or something like that they mentioned, that got attacked by the cooperative or this is gonna mess me up. The
You're right. The
cooperation,
yeah.
um, where they had went in and attacked them and they wiped them out or whatever. They were really
Hmm.
proud about that. And so we know at least one other coven. So what about the other covens is my question. And what about I don't even know what to call them there. Let's say the Spaldings there. Where what happened to all them? There's got to be other ones out there, right?
There
So
were. They were. Oh, here we go. Um, and here's something that was kind of interesting that I don't know if you caught on to this. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because we're thinking of alternate locations that could be these other outposts, right? So,
mhm.
so when Fiona comes back, she takes the girls on a field trip across New Orleans to LaLaurie's house, and she describes it as an alternative coven.
At Laurie's house.
Which I thought was kind of interesting because I wouldn't have thought anything, witchy about that at all. I mean, they didn't seem like there were any magical powers, just like this House of Horrors, whatever. But she certainly wasn't talking about the voodoo coven at the time. She
She was talking
specifically
about the
said
fountain that they were going to.
specifically said an alternative coven, and then as she was saying that, she was walking them over to LaLaurie's house, and I'm just wondering if that might be,
That
one
isn't
that
where
we
they
are.
were going. That isn't where they were going. They just got detoured there. And
Okay.
that was because what was her name in that show? That's where she was Nan. I had to stop and think, was she Addie or Nan in that show? She was
And
Nan in that show. She heard LaLaurie's
uh-huh.
voice, and so they kind of got sidetracked over there. But they were going to, I believe she said, a fountain is what it was. It was where the alternate coven used to meet.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Okay.
that
So I know
had
that they were
been
going. Yeah, I know that they were going, and I know that that was said on the way to her house. So it was probably nearby then.
right, right. Which New Orleans is like a hotspot for witches in general. So, and they had the
Right.
voodoo practitioners there too, which I think it's kind of weird that they all kind of got wiped out in that show. Anyway, which I want to mention, there was a question as to whether or not we'd get zombies this season because of
It
Apocalypse.
was in Coven.
Yeah, and which is right where they should be, because if you look into zombie lore, they associate with voodoo
Yeah.
and kind of, yeah, that's where they would be. And yeah, they're right where they need to be. So don't look for them this season. The crazy
No,
cannibals, yeah, maybe, but not any zombies. Sorry, folks. um,
no zombies. Zombie free.
yep, zombie free, zombie free. Cannibals, yes. Crazy ulcer tumors and all that stuff, yes, might look like some zombie freaks, but they're not.
No.
Um, yeah, we're not having any of that this time. Um, let's see. We
Something
had,
else was
yeah.
the canker pus monsters that they talked about. I know this was last episode, but that kind of took me back to Asylum when what's his name was performing his you know uh he turned what's her name I can't remember the character names, but Chloe Civi, I can't say her last name anyway, where he made her basically into a monster, and it just kind of reminded me of that, where they're, maybe that's what these canker pus monsters might be the equivalent of. um it kind of took me back to Asylum when they said that. And I wonder if they're actually going to show these monsters. That would be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I think that's definitely going to happen. Definitely.
I want to see them.
Oh yeah, me too.
I
I
mean,
think
they're going to be
that's
worse than the horses.
right, right. Um, yeah, I'm kind of interested to see exactly how they're going to do them. Um, I can see it in my head. It just makes me wonder what's gonna, what, how they're
Right.
gonna transfer them to the screen.
Mhm.
um, and yeah,
The
because
experiment. I can't think of the word
yeah,
experiments. Holy crap. What? It must be getting late.
I know, I know. I'm sitting there. I just went back and started Asylum too. It's like I need to go back and watch this one now.
They
And
have, they
it
have,
was Emily and Timothy that made me want to do that one. It's like, no, I need to go back and do this one now. And now I'm gonna have to go back and do Roanoke again too, just because. I swear I'm jumping all around. I'm just gonna have to go back and do, I guess, Freak Show just for fun now too.
um, but going back, Emily kind of made a slip of the lip, and she, instead of them having like extraordinary DNA, she said perfect DNA. And I don't know where she got the idea about the perfect DNA, but I wonder where that comes from, because nobody ever said that their DNA was perfect, just that it was, extraordinary, right? Or something to that,
Right.
but not perfect. So that to me kind of stood out. Why does she think that they have perfect DNA?
That's a really good question, actually. Where did she get that impression? Or who told her that, you know? And what exactly would qualify as perfect? Or is it perfect for whatever means that they need it, you know? Because they did bring up, Michael did, um, whenever he was doing his very first interview, assessment, about the breeding, about we have means to breed, and make
Yeah,
children without, actually you guys having sex.
yeah,
We haven't found a way to carry the children yet without the mother carrying them, but we're working on it.
yeah.
So, apparently, they are thinking about it and thinking forward as to carrying on the whole race as a whole. And yeah, so the whole DNA thing is definitely an issue here.
But
As far
perfect,
as, yeah,
again, I just
I
I wonder where
yeah,
she got that idea, because that's one of the things that just really stuck out, is nobody ever said that their DNA was perfect. It just said that basically that it was more conducive for surviving. But that's not perfect. That's just, being able to adapt to the conditions. That, again, that doesn't guarantee perfection.
right. And why, what deems perfect is what gets me. Why would it have to be, you know,
and
I
only
don't even
two
know
of
how to word it. Yeah. Yeah, only two of them. And I'm sorry, the money does not buy you the perfect genetics to breed. You know what I mean?
No, Coco is classic example of
I
that.
was about to say, sorry, Coco.
Sorry, Coco.
Can't help you, hun.
You're gone.
Yep,
She,
disposable.
yeah, she's gonna be dinner.
Yep, and that's pretty much how I look at, the ones that hitched a ride and that bought their way in, is they're just disposable at this point. At the end of the day, it's called who's going to be left, and I definitely think Mallory has a better shot than the rest of them. At least that was on the plane. She's probably winner chicken dinner. um, Even with the whole Emily and Timothy, I think Timothy's probably got a better chance than Emily at this point, just because she's a little, like you said, with that perfect DNA part, she seems to be a little overconfident at this point. And that overconfidence just seems to not be in her favor.
And she wants to go outside. And I don't, okay, I don't blame her. I don't blame her for wanting to go outside and see what's really going on, because it is suspicious. Okay.
Right.
You know, we don't
But I
know
don't
that
trust
area
it.
was truly impacted the way that they think it was. Now, those horses could have had those darn sores long before they even came into that area. So, they look like they didn't just get there, that they've been there a while. So I have to wonder, just like her, about the true situation that's going on outside those doors.
Wouldn't it be hilarious too if like they did go outside, if he did listen to her and they did actually go outside just to see that fog in just outside the borders and life carrying on as usual?
Mm-hmm. I just, I don't know. And another thing that kind of gets me, and I'm probably going to have to do a little bit more research about this, um, is number one. Okay, I'm going to go back to my military experience for a second. Okay,
Okay.
so gas masks don't protect a person from radiation.
Right? Yeah. No, I thought
Okay,
about that too.
they don't. They protect you from particles, not from the rays, that kind of stuff. So the particles, I had a real problem with the suits that everyone was wearing, and I have to question it based on that. I really. Oh, and Gallant sipping the soup through his gas mask. That was just hilarious.
Yeah.
I know people. I know people who used to do that when we were in the military. They used to open up their straw and they would sip soup through that and everything. You're supposed to. That's what the straw is for. But it was just
I've
funny.
never seen one, like I've never seen
They
anyone
did.
with
That's
a
a real.
straw.
So
I've
for
seen
anyone who's asking, that is a real thing. They totally do that. You can connect the straw to a canteen. You can sip liquids through it and everything. That's what it's for. But his
I've
was
seen
totally
the smokers.
exaggerated. It was fun, and I've seen that too. I've totally
That's the
seen
ones
that.
I've
So
seen.
so for anyone who was thinking that that's absolutely crazy, it's not. They got that because they really do that stuff. There's a straw on the inside of a gas mask so that it goes to the mouth so that you can eat and drink through it. Okay.
That's his trip.
But so anyway, I knew my experience would come in handy at some point, right? Oh, anyway, Ree. So yeah, that was an interesting thing. Did your internet stop?
There we go. You hear me?
She's back.
There we go.
Hiding
See,
from
that
you.
was. Yeah, I know that was my computer died.
I was
Okay.
having a moment. I was having a moment, and then you were gone, and I was like, I stopped laughing. Like, no, how dare she? Don't
I
let
know.
me
My
do
screen
this.
went black, and I was like, okay. I
That was funny
was
though.
like, what I do? See, that's from playing WoW. That's what WoW does to your laptop. World of Warcraft, everybody. Oh, now I got to make sure the plug stays in. Okay. Now then, where were we at, boys and girls?
We were talking about him having his soup through his straw and his gas mask.
Yes. Yeah, no, I thought about that too because I didn't trust their suits either. I was like, there's no way that's going to protect them from all the radiation and stuff. Man, they make you wear them lead vests and everything. We need to go get x-rays. How is that little suit going to protect them? I'm not
So
buying any of it.
What I had been through was, you don't just wear these normal suits. You actually have to wear more protective gear, like they were wearing the yellow and clear ones when they first got there. That to me was more realistic than what the staff was wearing on the outside. They would have had to wear something a bit more protective outside of their black. And I think they did that to just differentiate between who's the on-site staff and and the newcomers. So I'm not gonna be quick to call it a mistake, but
That could be an AI situation again, though. When we go back to the whole Terminator thing,
if she's not human in the first place, then it doesn't matter. And
right?
she could have just walked out there without that, but she has to pretend that she's human. I could see that. I could totally see that. But
Michael was
that would
wearing
make
that
sense.
too, though.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. But their suits, it just rubbed me the wrong way. So.
But we had Michael in that, and we had the tall chick too.
Mm-hmm.
So who all does it count for? So yeah, that brings up a lot of questions actually.
Mm-hmm.
Or does it only count for the elite? Would only the elite get the special suits and nobody else matters?
Well,
But
the yellow suits aren't really, any sort of special. Those are pretty normal for radiation. But I just didn't see anybody else wearing those. So again, the black suits to me, if they were human, it wouldn't be enough.
yeah, they were more like, I don't know. They made me think of garbage bags, honestly.
They did. They looked like, yeah, the big old black.
Yeah, it was just like they threw on a hefty bag and a gas mask, a pair of gloves and went out there. So yeah,
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how protective they actually are.
really.
Yeah.
I know they work in the rain, and if you've been a quick pinch,
I'll send you some resources.
Right. I'm gonna be looking up hefty bags now.
Use it for hefty bags.
Right.
Protect me from radiation poisoning.
Hey, they work on your windows too. If you ever break a window, one of them suckers work on your car. I've done that
too. They can
really?
They can do anything. They can totally do it. Yeah, they keep you warm. Yeah.
Yeah, I've worn it as a poncho. I've used them like when you're moving or something to put on your clothes and the hangers.
Get warm in there when you wear it as a poncho, though.
It really does. You get really hot fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought about that. Yeah. And I done it like over a car window and like taped it on there, like duct taped it on there when I broke my car window. And yeah, it works really good in there too. Because again, I live in Florida and it gets really hot here. So I always thought that was just because it was dark though and the sun coming in, that sort of thing.
There's so many uses for those hefty bags.
Right.
They'll They'll get you through the apocalypse.
I'm gonna keep them in stock now.
Anyway,
Right next to my
start...
duct tape and my pliers.
That's hilarious.
Oh, emergency kit now. Oh, another thing too to bring up real quick, where we were talking about music, is the other song they play was "Time in a Bottle." I thought that was kind of funny, because they were talking about Hardy Boys episode where about the innocence lost and the girlfriend dying, and it was a real sad episode because his girlfriend died. So I kind of thought maybe that might be a little bit of foreshadowing. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, aside from showing the generation gap too.
Yeah, that was when they brought that up.
Quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, we had a lot going on this episode. It really did. Like it was like I kind of didn't know what to think by the time it was all over because my brain was in so many different places. And yeah, it was just like all over the place. It really was. Overall, I think it was a pretty good episode, actually. A good way to lead into more going on this season. I'm excited for next week. I really am. Especially because we only do have 10 episodes. It is a short season again. We've only had, I think, one other season that was this short. And because they usually are longer. So
13.
So
Lucky 13.
Yeah, Lucky 13. And we do have one on Halloween this year. And next week's episode, speaking of, is their Halloween. So we'll get to see how their Halloween goes. I'm really excited about that.
So if that's any indication of, what happened in the past during Halloween, Murder House and Coven had, these Halloween pranks where the dead came to life and everything. So I wonder what kind of creatures we're going to see on Halloween. I'm pretty stoked about that.
Me too, because that is the time when the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest, and the dead do walk among us. And yes, that will be very exciting, especially to see who exactly is in this school. That will be the time, if any, that we will see that. And it's the time that these bound spirits that are bound to places or objects even necessarily can go free from them restrictions, such as the murder house goes. They can leave that particular place and go somewhere without being summoned by a medium or something, So not necessarily will we see them next week, but it is a possibility that we could, of their own free will, in other words, by them coming without, say, Billy Dean or the witches or something, bringing them there.
I forgot that they did their gathering of serial killers on Halloween every year.
Yeah, that was really cool. For fact, that's where we last seen Billy Dean. Yeah. Oh, I didn't. I just watched that one the other day. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who shows up. For fact, we might even see an appearance by Hank and his father. Even that'd be kind of crazy, if in fact it is the witch hunter school there. That'd be kind of crazy, I think. I'm excited to see who's there. I really do. I want to see who pops up at this place. Because I'm thinking that's probably that you were right about that, and that's exactly who this is.
Wouldn't that explain how they bring the dead witches back to life too? Then.
Yeah, it actually would.
Just
especially because like Misty was turned to dust.
Yeah.
Because she got stuck whenever she left her body. She got stuck when she was in hell, actually.
She couldn't bring her back. Yeah.
You're right. She couldn't bring her back. She tried, remember? And she literally turned to dust in her arms. We ended up with only Zoe and Queenie with Cordelia at the end. Now, I could see how Cordelia could have brought, Myrtle back. Stevie was still alive, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's 4 right
Madison
there.
Madison was killed by Kyle.
Right. Which they could in turn bring back to. I get that. If they'd want to. Yeah. Um, but again, like you said, this could explain how they would come back. Or who knows? They might have actually, some of these witches, I don't see Misty, but some of them might actually even be brought back by Michael himself. We don't know yet. Or Cordelia may have found a way. Who knows? Um, I don't think that any of them will be necessarily on Michael's side, though. I do think they are going to be more the 7 heads of the dragon thing,
Yeah, yeah.
there to consume him. But that would be a good way. On that idea, I don't think they would come back that way just for one night. They'd have to come back in a more solid, permanent way. So, you know what I mean? There's got to be a different way for them to come back fully. I could see them coming back then, but how are they going to stay back? I don't know. I'm still messed up on that.
Yeah.
That's just got me all messed up because I really I don't know. It's just got me all messed up because really we don't know how they're going to come back. And because I thought about this, unless there's some way that this happened before the end of Coven.
They would have, honestly, they would have explaining to do, though. That to me it would be like a huge plot hole. Is that
Yeah,
they were dead in this season and now they're alive in this season. I mean, you got to explain it.
yeah, and that's too many potholes. That would be there, and that would be in hotels. Another one because they have the time jump between there and the end of hotel. So that's too much jumping around. I don't see them doing all that jumping around. It's too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's got to be some other explanation. I just think maybe they just have a really badass Supreme is all it is. So yeah, there's got to be some other reasoning to it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I do know that we are going to see Vivian at some point this season for Murder House. And I see, to me, I don't think they should bring back Violet because she was still a teenage ghost, although I could see her still playing a teenager. But I don't know. They want my living room light. That was kind of crazy. Um,
I'm not very excited that they're bringing back that family. To me, it doesn't give me, like, it doesn't make the hair stand up or anything like
me
that.
either. I mean, I can
I just don't
understand.
get it.
I can understand the mother, Vivian, because it was Michael's mother. Yeah, okay,
No,
maybe to
even
appeal to
then,
him.
I I
Nah,
just feel like it's overkill that they're bringing back too many, dead or ghost like characters in one place, and trying to make it work. It just feels kind of awkward that family. I mean, they were all gone. I think that they should have just, like,
stayed
left
gone.
them to that. Yeah, left them to that house because uh it was Constance who raised Michael. That makes the most sense to me.
Right.
What would be that part of it, but nothing else.
Well, Vivian, I could see because she died giving birth to him, so I could see that for a blood tie. Um, and just because of that reason. Um,
I'm not feeling it though.
yeah,
I
that
want
I'm
to see
not
what they
feeling it
do with
either.
it. I'm gonna give it a chance, but
Yeah,
I'm really not feeling it.
Constance is the one I'm excited about, though. I want to
Yeah,
see her. I want to
yeah.
see. I just love Jessica Lange too. Everything she does on there is just really good. Um, but yeah, I really, yeah, I think Connie Britton just wanted to show up on this season, so she's like, "Yeah, I'll do Vivian again." Um, and yeah, I don't
I'm not
really know what
feeling it.
Dylan McDermott's gonna do. Honestly, maybe he'll show up as a different character instead. Probably not, because I think they did say that that's who he was going to be, was Ben, but I don't really know why either. I don't know. And I don't think they said that she was going to be Violet. I don't think they said that at all. My reasoning for why Violet would be on there would be because at the end of Murder House, Tate said that he would he wanted Violet to forgive him, and he would wait forever if that's how long it would take. And that what better way for Violet to forgive him than by doing this, you know?
But to bring
Getting
back the entire family just for that wouldn't
Yeah,
make
that's a little
sense.
too much. Um yeah, that's just a little too much
That's
right
like
there for
that's
me.
a them thing. That's not a mommy daddy bring everyone back for a family reunion.
Right. That it is too much right there.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I think that is I think that's just yeah, I think that's just I don't know. I don't know.
I'm
I
gonna
don't like
struggle
it.
with it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm
Yeah.
totally gonna struggle with it, but like I said, I want to give it a chance, and I want to see if they can do something that makes sense. Because I don't know, maybe someone else can convince me to to give it a chance for reasons X, Y, and Z. But I don't see it. I mean, there was just those ties.
And the only thing I could think about was
Vivian
maybe
and Tate
for
makes sense.
right, and the only other reason I could think of is because where Vivian had because she did have twins, but the other baby died
Yeah.
whenever because Michael like
You were
became
right
like the
about that
alpha.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And Michael was like the alpha and basically took all the nutrients from that baby,
Yeah.
so the baby didn't survive, and
Yeah.
it ended up being like a ghost baby. Um and Nora was like, "Oh, I got my baby now," and then she ended up giving it to Vivian after her a while because she got tired of it crying. Um, so yeah, I don't even see how that makes sense. Um, yeah, because the girlfriend or whatever had a sister, but Hayden or whatever, she had a sister, but I don't even see how that would make sense in this story.
No.
Because I can't make sense of it. I really can't. I keep trying to think of ways for it to fit, and I can't think of anything.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I've tried to, tumble this around any which way, and I can't find a way to make it make sense. The only person that makes the most sense is Constance. Maybe Tate at most, okay? But I just don't see it otherwise.
And I mean, Vivian's bloodline might have something to do with it because maybe Tate needed another important bloodline to, mesh with, you know, but then why would they kill off the bloodline? You know what I mean? That don't make sense to me why that
But
bloodline would die
but
out.
the bloodline to me would have come from Tate's side.
Well, you got yeah, but it was of ghost and or spirit and human
Uh-huh.
bloodline. So you got the human being
But
Vivian and
his
the
mother
spirit was
was
Tate.
but if his mother was a witch,
Right. But that's one
who-
side. So what about the other side? Wouldn't the other side be of important bloodline too?
not necessarily. I mean, I'm
Not
not about to
necessarily, but
I'm not going to
maybe.
go Game of Thrones
Maybe.
here. I'm not going to go Game of Thrones here, but
Everything's Game of Thrones.
but I don't think on Vivian's side, I don't know that there was anything all that special about any of them. They didn't show to me. They didn't show any particularly special abilities.
Except they
So
seen ghosts and we're communicating with ghosts.
then what? A medium at most.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't. That's not necessarily a witch.
No. But that still, that's
And remember,
something.
in Nan was the only one who could hear dead people, right? She was the clairvoyant. So
Clairvoyant, yeah.
so maybe, maybe there was just that in their family, but I don't know. Maybe, I mean, that could be. Well, Violet saw Tate, so
Hmm.
she maybe. I mean,
And we don't know
the
where
more I
they came
think
from
about
either.
it, yeah, the more I think about it and talk it through, the more that maybe Violet was clairvoyant like Nan.
Hmm. And also, too, let's remember that alien DNA that's out there, too, that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, we really don't know
Hmm.
what's out there.
The
So
truth is
that
out
makes
there.
right. The truth is out there. Oh, yeah, let's get all X-Files.
The truth
um,
is.
yeah, so there's some questions there to who are they? And it is all supposed to tie in. That's the other big question out there. Um,
Okay, so I could see that. I will give the clairvoyance. I will give that a shot. I'm going to go in that direction then, because that to me would make sense. That's the only way it makes sense to me. Otherwise, there's just no reason.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree too. So there
The
has to
father
be, yeah.
didn't the father talked with. Hold on. Let's go back. The father, who was a psychologist, right, or psychiatrist, he had spirits come to his home and he counseled them.
Yeah, he did actually.
So
So
he could be the source of that clairvoyance, not the
not the
mom.
mother. Yeah. For a fact, he had more of them than the mother did. The mother only seen the maid, and then when Tate was in the suit.
Hmm.
Did she ever even see Tate when he wasn't in the suit? And whenever he was in the suit, she thought it was her husband. And then she thought she was crazy at that.
I don't remember. I know that the father, gosh, their names. I'm just bad with names in general, but
And the
I
couple, the gay
but he
couple,
definitely did not like Tate.
right. No, you're
He didn't want
right.
Tate around. So,
Right.
but the mother, I don't know that she ever said anything, or that I remember her even really speaking about him that much. I just don't recall that. But he definitely had problems with him because he was counseling him.
I'm wondering now, and I kind of want to go back and rewatch it all again, and I just watched it again, to see if how much she actually interacts with the other ones, other than Moira, which was the maid. Because I know she interacted with her, but other than that, and the gay couple, um, who did she actually
But they
interact with?
manifested themselves.
Right,
Okay.
and that's different. When they manifest themselves, that's different. And
Yeah.
he's seen them all the time.
Yeah.
But other than them physically manifesting themselves, she didn't see nobody.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like if it's coming from anywhere, it's coming from him down to Violet and not so much the mom, because she's only interacting with these spirits when they manifest themselves.
And then thought she was crazy on top of it all. She thought
Yeah.
she was losing her mind, had to be hospitalized. The
Yeah.
father never thought that at all.
Yeah.
Ben was his name. Ben
Putting
never
the
thought that.
pieces together.
And he interacted with them. He was physical
Yeah.
with them, um, touching,
Yeah.
everything, full on
Yeah.
contact.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Hmm.
that's very interesting. Ooh,
Yeah.
yes. I like that. I definitely like that. And we just really haven't seen enough of the male witches, so I think we need more of them. um, and even like where we were talking about the boys' school too, and I do think that it probably is the witch hunters. I do think that, but when we
Yeah.
go back to Coven, it mentions Quentin on the council and
Yeah.
that he's a colleague. So where are they from? Where are the male witches at? We
So
don't really know where they're at.
So Penrose and Quentin were not from the same coven as Fiona, Cordelia, and Myrtle.
But Pembroke was mentioned as a sister witch. He was just mentioned as a colleague.
Uh-huh.
So he was kind of differentiated,
So
from them.
colleague is pretty vague because when somebody is on a same level with a person, you call them a colleague. So
Right.
it doesn't necessarily mean that that he was any different, but he just may have been from a male coven that we just didn't hear about, except for he was represented, he was representative of them.
Right, right. But she was, and which made me think, okay, so where she's calling her a sister witch, does that mean she's from the same coven or just because she was a female? That's where I was like a little confused by that,
Yeah.
just how they worded it. It threw me a little bit,
Yeah. So, I mean, another thing that stuck out about the council was that Venable had her own two people who were, I guess, at her council, which I thought was kind of like, that three, how the council was three.
Yeah, yeah, no,
So,
actually, that's a good point to bring up too. It's
um,
like, yeah, it's like she's got her own little council set up. I
yeah.
even consider the fact that they could be witches because they're wearing the black. Um, and again, where the witches actually took down the cooperation.
Hmm.
See, I'm gonna mess up that word every time I say it now.
The corporation.
Um, yeah, corporation. It's because I start to say cooperative every time, and then I change it up at end. Um, and where they took out all the directors of the board, um,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder if the witches just took it over at that point.
Well, the
Uh,
council was taken out by Myrtle, so just
right.
saying there's parallels there too. So I mean,
Yeah.
so let's just say that if Venable decides that she just wants to go her own, she takes out her council, her left arm and her right arm, or right hand.
Yeah, I kind of think we might see something like that, but more from Miriam. She's just kind of giving me that vibe, like she might go her own way.
Yeah,
Um,
gave the look. She gave the look before she went to dole out some punishment. And
she
I
did.
feel like she didn't agree with it, but she was doing it anyway. Again, because she's a Terminator.
Yeah.
They're only supposed to, they're only supposed to follow directions, orders, obey orders. And that's what she's doing.
But I only see that going so far, at some point she's going to disagree with something or decide she wants to be in charge or just go her own direction. Something's going to change in her. I just kind of got that feeling. She's already, like you said, that look, she's already just got that vibe to her. Um, yeah. And if
And
nothing else, she's going to just decide she has a new leader to follow.
well, and if we look back at Kathy Bates' characters in general, they kind of go from these sort of submissive characters to these, more dominant ones over time, where she comes into her own and she's just like, I'm empowered. I'm going to handle business. I'm taking care of crap. And she starts killing people in hotel. And, when she loses her power in Coven, she goes and she finds another guy to kill in the attic and she feels empowered again. And, she finds these moments to rise and shine, and I wouldn't expect any different this time around.
Oh yeah, me either. Definitely not. um, yeah, I just can't wait to see what she does this season because she does. Like I said, I always just have the misery moments with her where break out the board and get the hammer out and just wait for her to break somebody's legs because it's coming.
I'm really excited to see if Joan Collins, um, Kathy Bates, and oh crap, come on, help me! It's been a long day. Uh, Fiona.
Fiona. Oh yeah. Okay,
Name.
Jessica
So
Lange. Yeah.
thank you, Jessica. How in the world am I forgetting this? Anyway, I would love to see the three of them share the screen. And the reason why is because you're looking at like a golden age of acting right there too.
Well, didn't we see Joan Collins like get already?
If that
Did that
was
really
the
happen?
case, if it happened, but I would love to see the three of them at the same place at the same time. That to me would just be
Me
like
too.
a, like an awesome moment in TV history, the three of them together.
And see, I kind of thought I was like, "There's no way that just happened. That's just it's too soon."
I think it was messing with his mind.
Yeah, me too. Like, I think it would be a lot better if he goes to dinner the next day and she's sitting right there, because that was just too easy. It was just too easy. And what
I
a tease to bring her on just to have
I
her
think
go
it
so
was to
quickly.
teach him a lesson, a different type of punishment, mental punishment versus physical punishment. What it's like to
Yeah.
lose a loved one. Even if you say you hate them, how would you feel if they were really gone?
Yeah, no, I agree. And that goes back to that whole sin and part of it all. He thinks that with the whole sex and freedom and judgment and everything, he wanted that sexual freedom and didn't like her judgment upon him
Yeah.
because of it. So he was really angry about it. And that's, Michael even said to him, that's what you're really angry about is because of how she judges you for it.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? How do you know that? And he's like, I know all your secrets.
Yeah.
And,
In
that
his
was a
files.
big part of it.
In his
Yeah, in his
files. He
files.
doesn't
He's
have
like,
files.
how do you know? I know
He doesn't have
he
files.
didn't even have
He's
a
got
notebook or
no, he
nothing.
doesn't. He
And
doesn't
that
have
was another thing. How did he power that laptop? There was no plugs or anything, but that laptop was sitting there cracked open at that. And they're like, they even brought that up. They're like, how is he doing that? These files are from a week ago. These emails are from a week ago. They even mentioned that, when they're snooping.
Well,
So,
that radio is working somehow. And remember, back in the day, they also had, transistor radios, right? So,
oh yeah, well I can see the radio though, because like you said, the transistor, so I can see the radio.
yeah,
Well, let's
going
go ahead
way
and wrap.
back,
Right.
going
Let's go
way
ahead and
back.
wrap this up now because my computer is about to go again on me.
No.
I know, right? It's what
We
to
can
do
talk
this.
all night about this. We can
We
totally talk.
really can too. Stacy, thank you so much again, and have a safe trip. Safe trip.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
right, and we will definitely get together and talk about this some more when you get back. Um, again, I am Revengeance, and thank you again, Stacy. You want to give some shout outs real quick?
Shout out
There
to
ain't no
everyone
chat.
that, yeah, absolutely. Shout out to everyone that comes out here, watches this video, and supports us because, this is a really neat show, and we hope that more people jump into these storylines, and you don't have to watch previous seasons in order to to get into this show. You can. It's an anthology, which you were talking about that last time, but you didn't really go into it. What an anthology is it's a different storyline every season, different characters. So while there are some small connections, and you'll see them over time, you can jump from season 1 to season 7, and you're going to get completely different characters, completely different storylines, and a completely different experience. And there's people that go without watching some seasons because it just doesn't appeal to them, and they feel they're not missing anything in the story. So I would highly suggest, if you're interested in it, just jump on in any season. You should be pretty happy with it.
Oh, definitely. And that's me. I still haven't seen last season of Cold. I'm just now where it's like I'm about to start it. And definitely watch it and check us out some more. And we will be back next week with more. And I thank you again for watching. And we hope that you've enjoyed it. And I do apologize for my battery dying. And we will be back again. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Revengeance, and we appreciate you. See you next week.
Bye.